Maybe you've been to Disney World hundreds of times, but you probably haven't had to deal with these problems before. We're seeing issues that we've never had to manage before, and today we're going to get you up to speed on what you need to do to have a smoother vacation. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Massive transportation delays, not being able to even book your hotel, and waiting for hours to talk to a cast member on the phone. No, these aren't necessarily typical problems you'll encounter when you're planning a Disney World trip, but it's what we're seeing right now. These new pitfalls might make your trip a little more complicated, so we've got the tips to help you out. The first pitfall we're starting to see right now is the Skyliner situation. Staying at a hotel on the Skyliner route seems like a great idea. You have a lot of options for which hotel you stay in, from the more budget-friendly Pop Century Resort to the fancy and amenity-filled Riviera Resort, and you get access to one of the quickest ways to travel to the parks. Well, at least it's supposed to be. If you're staying at Pop Century or Art of Animation, you're at the end of the line and you need to transfer at Caribbean Beach, which means you may have to wait in 2 lines before you are actually headed to Epcot or Hollywood Studios. But the bigger bummer might be when you've shelled out the cash to stay at the Riviera Resort and you have to wait a while to get on the Skyliner. So here's what's happening. The station at Riviera is on the Epcot line, but everyone who boarded at Caribbean Beach will be passing through, which means you'll need to wait for an open gondola to get on board. Cast members will leave an open gondola after a few full ones, but that means you won't be boarding as quickly as you might at other stations. This can be especially true when there are large crowds waiting to board just before the parks open or when the parks close. We've also seen really long lines to get back to the resorts at the end of the night at Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Now, right now, Disney is still loading only 1 party per cabin most of the time. But during busy times, they are asking if people are all right sitting in a cabin with other folks. So be prepared for that. You can tell them that you're not comfortable with it and get your own cabin. As social distancing guidelines relax even more, the long lines will start to get a little shorter, but you can still expect crowds to build at park open and park close. Sure, the ride on the Skyliner is quick, between 3 and 12 minutes, depending on where you're going, but you need to get on it first. If you don't want to wait in a super long line for the Skyliner, you may want to consider only traveling when crowds will be lower, i.e. not right at park open or about an hour following, or right at park close. Obviously, that's not going to be an option for you if you want to get the most time out of your park day. So if you don't want to get stuck behind a bunch of other people in line first thing in the morning, show up before the Skyliner opens, about 30 minutes before the parks do. You'll have to wait for it to open, but when it does, you'll be one of the first on board. Otherwise, consider other forms of transportation. Buses aren't typically running on the regular to parks you can get to via Skyliner, so you may want to drive yourself or get a rideshare, but that has its own problems. All right, the next pitfall we're seeing in Disney World right now is rideshare hassles. So if you're facing an hour-long wait to get on the Skyliner, you might be tempted to just call an Uber or Lyft, which will still likely be faster than waiting in a massive line for Disney's free transportation, but it might take longer than you're used to. Fewer people are driving for rideshare services right now. After demand for rideshares dropped by 75% during the pandemic, many drivers left that job, and demand for rides is rising, but those drivers haven't returned. With fewer drivers and higher demand, it may take a while to match with a driver. You may have a driver cancel while you're waiting to be picked up and have to go through the process again. This has happened to some of our reporters multiple times. Now that can cause the price to go up as well. Rides are costing as much as double what we're used to lately. Check both Uber and Lyft for which has the better price, and check for deals or look for promo codes. And Disney's minivans still aren't running, so the regular ride shares are your only option if that's the kind of transportation you need to take. If you need car seats, by the way, you may want to consider booking a shuttle in advance that offers those, as they're not common in ride shares. Now, if all of that sounds too complicated, you may just want to rent your own car. There is an Alamo car rental location right outside of Magic Kingdom that offers shuttles to and from your hotel. But if you're more into the rideshare deal, you could schedule a trip in advance in the app that may help prevent drivers from canceling on you and should guarantee a certain pickup window. That could be really helpful if you're using it to get to the airport, since you know what time your flight is and when you need to leave. Okay, next we're going to talk about park passes. Yeah, we've been dealing with making park pass reservations since last July, but they are selling out mega fast now, even as park capacity starts to increase even more. Disney hasn't yet given a new number, but it did indicate that park capacity will be increasing beyond the 35% figure we'd previously seen. We've recently noticed an increase in available park passes for the months of May and June, but still many dates remain booked up, like Magic Kingdom for the park's 50th anniversary on October 1st is booked solid, and a few other dates in the fall are selling out quickly. Now, with the increase in capacity in the parks, it should be a little bit easier to snag the dates you want, but we still highly recommend you book those park passes as soon as you have your tickets so you get the best selection of park availability. If the dates you wanted to book are gone already, stay on top of re-releases or refills. We're always covering the current status of available park passes over at DisneyFoodblog.com, and if you sign up for our newsletter, all that news will get sent right to your inbox. And remember to keep checking every single morning to see if park passes have been replenished for the time frame you're going. That happens all the time, and they sell out really, really fast when they're replenished, so keep an eye on it. All right, the next new pitfall we've never seen before in Disney World is getting food sometimes. Now, we have several situations we want to talk about when it comes to food problems right now in Disney World. The first one is that there's no room service at the moment. So if you're someone who likes to relax and have a lazy morning at your hotel with some breakfast in bed, or if you arrive in Orlando very, very late and are trying to find food on Disney World property, I've got some tough news for you. Room service isn't really happening at Disney World right now. You'll only find it at the Yacht and Beach Club resorts, and it's limited compared to what it used to be. Now, this isn't such a bad thing. Room service at Disney World has never really been great, and it's always taken a long time to arrive, and oftentimes you can only get pizza or a seriously overpriced sandwich. But if you want some food in your room, you've still got options, and arguably, they're actually better than Disney room service anyway. Thanks, pandemic. DoorDash, Uber Eats, and other delivery services can now bring food to your Disney World hotel. This is a total revelation. I am loving that it's that easy to get food delivered to your hotel right now. You might have to walk to the lobby to pick up your food, but remember, the food is probably better depending on where you order from, and you have more options than standard room service, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Now, here's the deal for how to pick up your food. I spoke with a couple of cast members when I was at Disney World last week, and they said that it is absolutely recommended that you come down to the lobby to get your food from your delivery person. Now, the delivery people are allowed to take your food to your room. They're allowed to bring it up and put it right outside your door, but Disney highly recommends, for safety reasons, that you come down and meet your delivery person in the lobby. Now, that choice is up to you, but that's what I was told. Now, we would love to have that Twilight Feast at the Polynesian back, but other room service was just okay to bad, so I am not all that upset that room service hasn't come back in Disney World. With DoorDash, you can grab lunch from loads of different restaurants, including some Disney Springs locations like Earl of Sandwich, so you can even get Disney food delivered to your hotel. All right, a couple of other food issues we are encountering when it comes to new pitfalls that we haven't really seen before. Dining has been booking up really fast. Now, I know you're going to say, AJ, dining booked up really fast before, but we are seeing it get worse than ever before. In fact, I've been looking for restaurants weeks out, and really all that's available are restaurants in Disney Springs, and I literally can't find anything in the parks. Now, you expect Oga's Cantina to book up quickly. If you didn't, this is your PSA that Star Wars Lounge books up real fast. But what about the Plaza Restaurant in Magic Kingdom, Sanaa, Animal Kingdom Lodge? You could always get a reservation there before. Now, restaurants all over are booking up further in advance, just like hotels and park passes. Even those restaurants we've typically been able to eat at last minute are totally booked weeks in advance. Now, the booking window currently opens at 60 days out. Disney hotel guests still get a jump on booking dining reservations since they can start booking all of their dining 60 days out from their arrival day. But if you're staying off-site, you'll need to wait until each day at 60 days to book that dining. And you'll want to know where you want to eat before booking for your trip opens, and be ready to book the ones you absolutely can't miss as soon as things open, like Be Our Guest Restaurant or Oga's Cantina. And that's 6 a.m. Eastern on the website, or 7 a.m. Eastern if you're calling. Now, there are a few restaurants that are available to book on OpenTable, and you may be able to book those before the 60-day mark, or there may be a few more reservations available than what shows up in the Disney system. These will likely be restaurants in Disney Springs, though we have seen places like Flying Fish and Jiko show up in the past, so it's worth checking third-party booking engines for your dinner reservations. And something else to note that I think is really, really important. My personal experience in Disney World last week was that I wasn't able to book any reservations weeks out or even a couple of days out, but if I checked the day before or the night before, a lot of reservations opened up for some reason. So that's a last-ditch effort to do that if you're really, really hoping to dine someplace like Chef Mickey's or Be Our Guest restaurant. They may show up on the walk-up wait list, which is where you're booking your reservation on My Disney Experience and you choose now, or they may show up the night before for the next day because people do cancel their reservations 24 hours in advance so that they're not charged. A bunch of those might flood the system the day before you want to dine. Okay, mobile order. Now, we've said it often on the channel recently, but you really need to order your mobile order lunch or dinner early if you prefer eating at peak meal times. Everyone is encouraged to mobile order from counter service restaurants in Disney World, which can mean one more place where you'll find competition in locking in your spot. Smaller locations like Woody's Lunchbox and Toy Story Land can book up their lunch mobile order pickup window times shortly after the park opens. So basically, if you want to eat there, too bad. There's literally no other times available to eat there. Now, why is this important? Well, because you don't want to get stuck at 11 a.m. realizing the family is hangry and the only pickup times are 4 p.m. or at a restaurant that has a menu you guys don't want. So lock in your lunch pickup time or your dinner pickup time early in the day so you don't miss out on the restaurant you actually want to dine at. Even counter service restaurants now need to basically be reserved in advance in a way. So that's a crazy pitfall we've never seen before in Disney World, but is absolutely something you need to be thinking about if you're heading to Disney World and want to dine in a popular fast food restaurant. Okay, now let's talk about hotel availability because we're kind of seeing the same thing with hotels as we're seeing with restaurants and park passes. You may need to have some backup hotel choices, and not just because your favorite may still be literally closed. Disney hotels are booking up quickly, and you might get shut out of your top choice. When hotels first opened, Disney did state that they're not booking to full capacity, which may very well still be the case. But even as capacity is increasing, we're still seeing some hotels completely booked up months in advance. I personally have tried to book some hotels in the past couple of months, and there have been many, many nights that there was literally not a single hotel available on Disney property, and many nights that there were only one or two, and they were really weird, wacky rooms. Now, I've seen that happen before, trying to book hotels in Disney World in the before times, and I will say it did not happen very often, and if it did happen, it meant something huge was going on property, like a big media event or a big opening or something like that. But I've never seen it like this, kind of consistently not having hotels available. So with limited capacity and a lot of hotels just not open yet, then you've got fewer open rooms to go around. So if your top choice or even your two top choices are booked for your travel dates, then check out some non-Disney hotels like the Swan and Dolphin, which are right next to the Boardwalk Inn and walking distance to both Epcot and Hollywood Studios. For some more options, you may even find better rates at hotels like the Swan and Dolphin. So that's definitely an option you can choose. I know I mentioned in another video that that's actually where I'm staying coming up here in a couple of weeks because I love those hotels. They're actually cheaper. You still get a deluxe feel and you can walk to two parks. So that's a no-brainer, especially since Disney is not giving the same perks that they used to give to their on-property hotel guests. But yeah, if you are even thinking that you might go to Disney World in the next 6 months or a year or year and a half, go ahead and get that hotel booked. You can always cancel it. And if there's a particular hotel you want to stay at, it makes a lot more sense to get that locked in and know that you've got it if you need it than to try to book when you're confirmed and you can't get into any hotels. Now, I'll do a little plug here really quickly for Small World Vacations. You guys know that's the travel agency that we work with. Having a travel agent who knows their stuff right now is incredibly, incredibly useful because they're going to be able to help you figure out and navigate that hotel maze. They're going to be able to check those hotels for you, see when the hotel you want opens up. They're going to be able to kind of wiggle and fiddle-faddle, as Molly would say, to figure out when that hotel does have dates available, if you need to change your dates a couple days back and forth. So a travel agent right now can be really, really helpful. And like I said, we recommend Small World Vacations. All right, so another new pitfall that we're seeing in Disney World that we've, of course, never seen before is when social distancing sort of goes out the window. Now, social distancing guidelines may be relaxing in Disney World, but even as Disney starts to transition to 3 feet distancing rather than 6 feet in some locations, it can be tough to even keep that space sometimes. During character cavalcades or rainstorms, people crowd together and social distancing just goes out the window. It was always unpleasant to get crammed into a tight space with strangers, but now after a year and a half of dealing with a global pandemic, pandemic, there's still that extra anxiety. We're seeing theater shows start to seat people much more closely with only a seat or a few seats in between parties, and ride vehicles are starting to remove plexiglass and seat different groups closer together. With nearly half of all Americans receiving at least a first vaccine dose, we're creeping towards the end of social distancing and a return to normalcy in the parks. But if you're still concerned about being in a large, closely packed group, if you've got kids who aren't vaccinated, you'll want to pay special attention when characters are going past and when storms pop up and people are all seeking shelter from the rain. Like we said when the parks first opened, only you can determine your comfort level. And if you're starting to get uncomfortable, it's time to move away. It's time to get away from the crowd, go someplace else, put on your mask. There were several times when I was in Disney World recently that I put on my mask because it felt like I was a little too close to people. Even though I'm fully vaccinated, I felt like I was a little too close to folks. And so I would put on my mask, even if it's just for their safety. All right, another pitfall that we are seeing increase in Disney World are those telephone wait times. If you need to reach Disney about a dining or hotel reservation or just a question, you might find yourself waiting a lot longer than you used to. Now, I know, we've been talking about phone wait times for years because if there's ever sort of a restaurant opening or something big happening, if food and wine bookings are going on sale or something like that, then you're always on the phone for hours and hours, right? But it feels like these days it's nonstop. Like you can't even call for just a regular routine question anymore without being on hold for an hour. Now, virtual chat and phone wait times are super long. We've waited over an hour to get a live person on the line to help with our reservations over the past few months. And I'm guessing the staffing is still down. I'm sure people have a lot of questions right now with so many things changing constantly. Don't forget Disney furloughed a lot of their employees and a lot of those folks have not come back. So we got to be prepared to settle in and listen to some Disney hold music if you need some specific help. Otherwise, I recommend doing some searching of your own to answer more broad questions. We have a lot of resources over at DisneyFoodblog.com, and we're always working to answer your questions and identify concerns you may have about your upcoming trip. By the way, if you're wondering how to navigate the maze of phone numbers in Disney World, we've just published a blog post that basically tells you where all those phone numbers go and the best phone number to use for the thing you're concerned about. So go check out that blog post next. Okay, another pitfall we've never seen before in Disney World, a virtual queue for a cookie. So the virtual queue for Rise of the Resistance was a pretty big deal when it started. Sign up for a spot in line and come back when it's your turn to ride. But now we've got virtual queues for shopping, the walk-up waitlist for restaurants, and virtual queues to buy cookies. You might wait longer to get into Gideon's Bakehouse in Disney Springs than to get on Rise of the Resistance. These cookies are a huge deal. They're huge at almost half a pound, and they're also huge in the fact that just everybody wants them. They've been named the best cookie in the world on more than one list. Gideon's also has limited release cake slices and special cookies and special time frames that you can only get certain things, and this all switches out all the time, so there will always be fun and unique options, but you're gonna have to get on that wait list as soon as you arrive in Disney Springs in order to guarantee you get the thing you want. And by the way, we've also seen them shut down the virtual queue around 7 p.m., so head to Gideon's before dinner if you want a cookie for dessert. And absolutely, if you want a Gideon's cookie while you're in Disney World, that's something you're gonna have to plan. That's not gonna be spontaneous for you. So on your Disney Springs day, go get on that wait list. All right, another pitfall we've never seen before in Disney World, no trams. You're planning for a ton of walking, but what about before you even get into the park? Parking lot trams are still not running, and while the parking lots are slightly less crowded than super busy days of the past, you're still gonna have to hoof it to the park entrance from your car and back. The back is tougher, by the way. We're hearing some talk that parking trams may be coming back soon, so stick with us here on the channel. We bring you the latest Disney news every week on Saturday morning, and sign up for our newsletter so you get all the news sent straight to your inbox and you know how to plan your trip. Okay, another new pitfall we've never seen before in Disney World, another kind of virtual queue here, a wait to use the pool. Now, this one will depend on how crowded your hotel is and what the current capacity restrictions are, but we have started seeing virtual queues at hotel pools. Before you tote the kids down to the pool, you might want to check if there's a wait or not. Some pools may not have a text to return feature, in which case you're going to have to just wait in an old-fashioned line until it's your turn to swim. Can you even imagine? Yeah, that's happening. All right, another new pitfall we've never seen before in Disney World, that Epcot Monorail closure. We've already shared the unexpected bummer of waiting for the Skyliner and the difficulty of getting a rideshare right now, but the trusty monorail is also throwing a wrench in our travel plans lately. The monorail connecting the Ticket and Transportation Center and Epcot is still closed, so you'll be taking a bus from the Magic Kingdom area over to Epcot. And the Polynesian monorail station is being completely rebuilt. It's expected to reopen with the hotel this summer, but right now the monorail is definitely not as convenient as you're used to. So plan some extra time if you're headed to Epcot from the monorail resorts, or if you're park hopping between Epcot and Magic Kingdom. And if you've got a dining reservation at the Polynesian, plan to drive yourself or leave plenty of time to get over there via Disney's buses. Next pitfall we're not used to seeing in Disney World is needing a plan but not being able to plan. Should I book a dessert party for my trip later this year? Will fireworks even be back? There's still a lot of uncertainty. Parades, fireworks, other things that have been paused to keep crowds from building may be able to come back soon, but how soon? We recently found out that Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is being replaced with a shorter after-hours event this year. But what about Christmas? When will we find out about Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party or the Candlelight Processional in Epcot? You may not get much lead time on an event announcement, and when tickets go on sale, these events will book up quickly, especially this year. You need to know what things you might want to do and maybe hold some cash aside in case you need to buy a ticket ASAP if an event is announced. Love the shows in Animal Kingdom? Well, Festival of the Lion King is back, but Nemo isn't. But if it does come back, you will need more time in that park to guarantee you can see all the shows. You may want to add another day to your trip, or at least another partial day in Animal Kingdom, which could mean changing up your plans. The name of the game right now is flexibility, because we just don't know what the future holds. I get emails every single day from followers who are saying, "Hey AJ, is Ohana opening soon? Hey AJ, we're going to be there at the end of July. Are we going to be able to go to Casey's Corner?" And I have to answer every single one. I have no idea. I don't know when Disney's going to bring things back. I don't know when Port Orleans is going to reopen. I don't know any of the answers to those questions, but you can trust me. As soon as I do, it will be in our newsletter. It'll be here on the channel, and we'll get that information to you. But honestly, we're just as up in the air as you are with a lot of this stuff. So we're trying to plan around all of it too. And it's definitely going to mean that you've got to have some flexibility in your plans, and you've got to leave some hours open for things that Disney hasn't even announced yet. All right, the next new pitfall we're seeing in Disney World, everything seems to take longer right now. When you're at Disney World, it just kind of seems like you're going in slow motion because of lines, because of waiting for transportation, and mostly that's because capacity is lower. So we've talked about those lines we're seeing and how it takes you longer to get around Disney World right now, how the line for Haunted Mansion is way back in Frontierland and the line for Frozen Ever After is actually in China. It's just very confusing. You don't really know what all these lines are for. And of course, no fast pass means you're waiting in those lines for every ride. Even when you mobile order food from counter service restaurants, you're going to wait to pick up that food after you let them know you've arrived to grab it. You'll find lines for other transportation besides the Skyliner, especially at park opening and park close. And you may encounter lines at World of Disney and Disney Springs and some smaller stores in the parks. You're going to have to wait to get into those stores. Lines are going to be longer than you've ever seen. Ride lines may snake far away from the entrance of a ride. You'll spend extra time looking for where to even go to start waiting. So pad your plans with extra waiting time just to be safe, and don't pack your schedule so tightly that you can't make up for an unexpected 30 to 40 minute wait somewhere. Believe me, if you do that, you're just going to stress yourself out more. So give yourself lots of extra time. Maybe add, if you can, an extra day or two to your trip so that you don't have to be so stressed out about fitting it all in. Now I know you're like, AJ, that would be great. I'd love to add an extra couple of days to my trip, and I know how expensive that is. That's one option. The other option is to not try to do quite so much in the time that you have. Now, the biggest pitfall we're dealing with is how quickly things are changing. We probably had to re-record a part of this video because the info changed. New restaurants are opening all the time. The hours and days that things are opening change on a weekly basis. A restaurant could be open and the next week it's not, and then it's only open these days. And only certain dishes are available at certain times. Health and safety policies are going to be changing a lot over the coming months, so you'll want to stay up to date on all of that. And keep those push notifications enabled on the My Disney Experience app. That's how Disney's communicating some of the most up-to-date information, including when they unexpectedly likely extend park or ride hours, and that's always something you want to know. You really have to be in the know every single day to see what's changed and what can greatly affect your trip. And again, one of the best ways to do that is to sign up for our newsletter. You won't miss a thing. We cover everything that happens in Disney World. We cover it all. We get the huge news sent out to our subscribers ASAP, so you'll be the first to know. Going to Disney World right now can be challenging, and we're dealing with a lot of problems we never experienced before, but some of these issues are temporary as things move towards normalcy again. Still, you don't want to get caught off guard. Stay up to date on all the news coming out of Disney World, and don't worry, we've got all the Disneylanders covered too. Our job here is to make sure you know everything you need to know about planning a Disney trip on the West Coast or the East Coast, including the difficult things you might encounter, and it's our job to give you ways to avoid those issues. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.